founder of Sandy Springs, the most successful public-private city in the entire U.S., Oliver Porter.
Well, great. I wish I could had time to comment on the last speaker, Titus. Brilliant man, and he's got a great book out you ought to read on free cities. Given yesterday's technical problems, I don't have any slides or visuals in the hope that you'll be able to get all of my message. It's really my pleasure to address our topic of dealing with pandemics and recovery through innovative government. My comments will focus on two levels of experience. Experience, not theory. First, my experience in starting new cities in the U.S. with a unique public-private partnership model, PPP. And second, my current involvement with starting a new privately owned and operating jurisdiction. In the first case, the focus will be on the ability of private industry to be efficient and flexible in dealing with a pandemic crisis such as we now face. The second case will address the longer run capability to renew and grow the economy after a crisis. In the first case, the focus, as I said, would be on private industry. The factors that lead to an area's economic growth and recovery are rather straightforward. Enhance existing businesses and bring in new businesses. Companies are attracted and prosper by the presence of several key factors: low taxation, minimal government interference through regulations, a safe and stable operating environment. All of these points are features of the two models that I will discuss. 15 years ago, I created a unique model, a public-private partnership for providing services to a new city, Sandy Springs, Georgia. The model was unique in that it called for private companies to provide all of the city's services except public safety. Of course, many cities had utilized private companies to provide a few services, but no one had offered such a wide array of services, especially not to a city the size of Sandy Springs with a population of approximately 100,000 citizens. Actually, the implementation of the city of Sandy Springs was accomplished in a crisis mode. There were only a few months to set up the city of 100,000 people. There was no blueprint to guide us. Equipment, buildings, and trained people had to be acquired. There could be no phase in. On day one, the new city had to be fully operational. The authorizing legislation gave no one the authority to hire employees, nor buy or contract for the necessary equipment and spaces until the city was incorporated. Ergo, day one, we had to be fully operational. Crisis? You bet. The new city was successfully established, running smoothly from day one, and has continued to be successful, experiencing better service, no increase in tax rates, was able to devote 20% of the operating budgets to much needed capital improvements, and most importantly, has zero long-term liabilities, no debt, no unfunded pension plans. Based on this success, 9 additional cities have been incorporated in Georgia with a combined population of 1.5 million citizens. I served as the principal advisor in incorporating the majority of these communities, and all but one adopted the model that I had created. In addition, I've conducted a number of feasibility studies for other cities and counties around the country to determine whether the PPP model would provide better services at less cost. In most cases, the savings were significant, ranging from 10 to 40% over the bureaucratic model. So what does this say about our topic, responding to and building beyond a crisis? In responding to a crisis, experience shows that private companies provide not only efficiency, but also the ability to innovate, to provide the most up-to-date technology, and greater flexibility. All of these characteristics are extremely important in responding to crisis situations. The new city constituted an enormous test of the creativity and flexibility for the private company that won the bid. A test that was met and exceeded. After the initial crisis, the company continued to exhibit the same abilities when significant hurdles arose, some bordering on crisis status. The role of technology can be critical in meeting democratic local governments tend to require more workers, partly because their level of technology tends to lag industry. The other reason is, of course, is bureaucratic inefficiency. Governments, especially smaller cities, tend to be slow to purchase state-of-the-art technology, while companies must be on the leading edge to stay in competition in their industries. Often, technology developed for non-government needs can be easily adapted for government applications. Normally for local emergencies, such as an unexpected peak in activity or a need for specialized talent, such as setting up the city's IT systems, a company can transfer in manpower and expertise very quickly, as was done in Sandy Springs. When the need was passed, the excess people were transferred to other areas at no additional cost to the city because it was a fixed cost contract for all the services. One might question whether in a worldwide pandemic, a company might have resources available. Since industry's normal business will be dramatically reduced during the pandemic, the opportunity to utilize excess resources in government will be welcome. If travel were to be curtailed, as in the present case, technology may be the answer. For the smallest city that we implemented in Georgia, we piloted a virtual city. It featured only one person on site. All transactions were accomplished over the internet from the company's office many miles away. Any other city could be handled in the same manner during a crisis. In the long run, PPP efficiency generates a healthy cycle. Lower taxes, more business, more tax revenue, and we have a terrific growth spiral resulting. That's been my experience, and I commend the PPP model to you as a method for both responding to pandemics and for building beyond the crisis. Excuse me. Now I'd like to shift gears and discuss an exciting new concept, actually a project, which I'm involved. This effort is the most advanced undertaking that I am aware of that fulfills the ideals of the Startup Society's foundation. To my knowledge, this talk is the first broad international exposure that the project has received. Therefore, I want to be precise in my presentation of this extremely complex undertaking. This innovative operation includes the PPP model for services, but goes well beyond anything previously accomplished by fostering an economic environment that encourages innovation, research, and trade. A new jurisdiction has been formed on the island of Roatan off the coast of Honduras. I refer to it as a jurisdiction for want of a better term. The entity has some of the characteristics of a city, some of a city-state, and even some of a country. The undertaking is authorized under the ZEDE law of Honduras. And ZEDE is the acronym for Zone of Economic Development and Employment. This ZEDE is privately funded through a venture capital fund, New Way Capital. And some of you have heard the CEO, Eric Bremen, discuss some aspects of this earlier in the conference. It's managed through the organization set up by New Way, which includes a 9-person elected council. I serve as a member of the council. Just as in the Sandy Springs model, the jurisdiction services will be provided by private industry. The general service provider has been selected through a bidding process. In keeping with the plan to provide a prosperous, safe, and secure entity with expanding economic opportunities, we have named the initial community Prospera. The expectation is that this will be a model that can be expanded to other locations, Success of the model may, just as in Sandy Springs, be copied by others. It is our hope that privately owned and operated jurisdictions will be created elsewhere to bring prosperity to underdeveloped nations by providing jobs through an expanding economy. If that occurs around the world, the spread of safe and secure living conditions will result. From this talk, I want you to remember one thing, if nothing else. Prosper is real. A great deal of effort and time has been spent on the development of the political and legal structure to make it so. Following the vision that Honduras exhibited in modifying its constitution and enacting the ZEDE law, we have made major progress in implementing the first ZEDE operation. There have been significant hurdles to overcome. I'm happy to report that most of the difficult decisions are behind us. Prosper is at least 95% of the way through the critical political and legal work. We're now approaching the operations phase. Our initial master plans are completed, and this month we would have begun our first construction project. Unfortunately, the pandemic has delayed the construction, but the key word is delayed, not canceled. Let me emphasize that Prosper is still a part of Honduras, but it is chartered to be a separate jurisdiction. Under that charter, hammered out in cooperation with the Honduran government, we have created a unique set of laws, the Prospera common law, new statutes, limited regulations, a tax system, an arbitration system, customs agreements, business and residence contracts, property registries, and many other necessary guides to life and business in Prospera. Prospera is a private venture in which all the relationships are determined by contracts between the organizer and the individual business or residents. We are the epitome of free market principles. New Capital could have chosen other locations in Honduras to initiate the ZEDE. The island of Roatan was chosen for many reasons to be the first site. Availability of transportation is an important factor in attracting businesses. Roatan is blessed with an international airport and 2 deepwater ports to house cruise lines and shipping. As a further draw to industry, Roatan is strategically located to ship to North, South, and Central America and Europe. Even Asia is reachable due to the proximity to the Panama Canal. The current business environment needs a boost. Existing small businesses will be enhanced by the existence of the ZEDE. Currently, the 2 primary industries are tourism and fishing, both served by small businesses. We intend to encourage these industries while bringing in new industries. Just offshore is the 2nd largest reef in the world. Diving and associated water sports are an important part of the small business culture on the island. Prospera has enacted statutes which protect the reefs to secure the diving and fishing industries. The island is also well situated to accept large underwater fish farms outside the reefs. They can be a major new export industry and a sustainable source of food for the islanders. In addition, since the island imports much of its food supplies, we're investigating the opportunity to introduce agriculture and other food producers as new industries. Obviously, no one started out to create a ZEDE with the primary objective of controlling and recovering from this pandemic. It's probably too late for our efforts to do much to mitigate the crisis. However, I do assert that as a byproduct of the creation of this and other ZEDEs, future prevention, mitigation, and the ability to recover from the economy are inherent. That is not to say that Prospera is not already trying to have an impact. We've reached out to the Honduran government and industry leaders with suggestions and the offer to assist in formulating plans for recovery from the virus. In the long term, Prospera's ability to promote the growth of vibrant businesses will enhance the company's economic position and give firms, large and small, the strength to weather and recover from crisis. How? Well, the two major principles that we have built into the structure are: one, minimum taxation. The tax system is designed to have the lowest level of taxation in the developed world. Again, the lowest level of taxation in the developed world. The highest total taxation rate of Prospera will be no more than 7.5% of GDP. This level should be attractive to any business with the capability to start or relocate operations. The tax structure is in three segments: income, value added, and land value. All of these taxes have been simplified in both their application and computation, to the point that the payer will be able, in most cases, to file a one-page return. I like to emphasize one particular positive aspect of the tax plan, the land value tax. As opposed to the more common property tax, a land value tax encourages development. Once a business or residence has the value of their land established, there will be no increase in taxes due to building on the land. A huge incentive to develop the property. Point two, regulation. The goal is to minimize institutional regulation in favor of self-regulation. Our basic principles are designed to allow maximum freedom to innovate, promote economic development, and support self-reliability. This does not imply that Prospera intends to promote an anything-goes approach to regulation. We have crafted a series of requirements that mandate a self-regulating environment. First, there is the necessity to operate within the strictures of our Prospera common law. There is mandated liability insurance that differs by industry. Dispute resolution is provided through the arbitration center. Yesterday, we heard from Mark Beer and Dr. Baumgardner about the prerequisite for a strong legal system and dispute resolution. We have created just such a system. We also heard of the need for recognized judges and have solicited and contracted for a pool of internationally renowned jurists. Further, legal costs to all parties will be minimized by mandatory arbitration, which will in turn minimize liability insurance. Consistent with safety of residents, we will absolutely minimize the cost of regulations to the businesses. We mean to have the most limited regulations to be found among all peer nations. Our intention in Roatan is to have clean industries such as finance, IT, medical research, and development. In the future, we intend to expand to mainland Honduras to house heavier industry. In the fight to overcome the virus, every breakthrough in drugs and treatments has been accomplished in the U.S. by cutting through unnecessary government regulations. It makes one ask, why were they there in the first place? Prospera intends to eliminate such bureaucratic barriers. We intend that the focus on medical research and development, when coupled with a pro-business climate, may produce technology and equipment that will prevent epidemics before they occur and mitigate the effect if and when they do occur. We have memorandums of agreement with both the hospital system and the university to locate facilities in Prospera. The expectation is that the business from a friendly environment will draw medical research for which the university medical complex will be synergistic.
Oliver,
thus we're attracted.
I don't mean to interrupt.
Yep, let me.
Okay.
Yeah, well, two minutes. I think I was started a couple late.
Okay.
I need to make this point.
Okay.
We're attracted to both new, existing industries. Evidence to that effect is provided by the Ernst & Young ratings that address easy to do business. Roger Ver, the CEO of Bitcoin, talked about the importance of this measure, and Prospera's model is ranked 8th out of 188 countries. By contrast, Honduras is now 122nd. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Thanks for listening, and thanks to the Startup Societies Foundation. If you have any questions or comments, my email is oliverporter1@comcast.net, and I'll put that in the chat section. Thank you.